Andy Elliot.
Simon.
How you doing? Sunday morning, you're out there in that tractor.
Aye.
You love your tractor, don't you?
Beautiful.
Tell us about it. I know that's why you're really here, is to tell us about it.
You know you've made it in life when you've got a ride on tractor.
It's a smile on your face.
And I used to have two until that other one gets stolen.
That's right. But I heard anything about that.
No, it's never been traced, but we're
despite having a picture of it.
Aye, we're getting a green one. We're replacement. We've ordered one. It's on its way for Italy just now, so it is. So, looking forward.
Expensive things, aren't they?
Aye. It's and it's also the upkeep and putting petrol and fuel and diesel in it these days.
So you're the second most desired video that we've been looking for. George is the main one because he's a Janny here, George Walker. I spoke to him the other day at Tory Glen. And you're number 2 because you're the grass cutter here, you're the greenkeeper. That's always the most important guy.
Yep. Putting the nets up and getting the flagpoles and picking the rubbish up.
That's about it.
All these other things. So
the romance of this job.
Yep.
Andy, let's in fact, before we talk about the job here and what you're doing in the community here, let's go back further. You're a Port boy.
Pre-still.
For goodness sake.
Pre-still for 24 years. Born and made
it. I had security here if I'd known that.
Born just around the corner for the old BBC studios in Queen Margaret Drive.
All right.
So
now West Ender, really.
I think it was only a couple of months old, and we were fortunate enough, or unfortunate enough, to get a house with an indoor toilet and stuff like that in Priesthill. So
was Priesthill quite a new scheme then?
That was 71. Moved up there, and you were a baby. We stayed across the road from the local park for early years, over in the park playing football. My brother,
big brother, wee brother.
Yep, big brother David, sister Jenny. So I was until late in life Jenny kind of got involved also in football, but so aye.
In what way is she played with a women's team?
Actually, our daughter Nikki got involved with our girls section, and Jenny got involved and then as a club secretary and so on.
Excellent. Because that's a generation thing. There's lots of girls that my daughter loved football, but there was nowhere for her to play. And by the time they got to secondary school, they couldn't play anywhere. It wasn't a thing for girls. Thankfully, that's changed a lot.
Very much so.
And it's very much what we do at Pollock. You're part of what you do at Pollock.
I think we've got 75, 80 girls involved.
Brilliant.
In the section, so a big part of what we do.
And walking football ladies is our next mission, I think. I've got Rose Riley coming for an interview, so I'm going to pick her brains and see if we can get something on the back of that.
I think the ladies section are in this morning
for their training.
Yep. So hopefully that will continue.
Good. So back to your school days. What school did you go to?
Bellarmine.
Right.
Whereas now it's probably about Marks and Spencer's, it's known as was the Pollock Centre. So in my days, for 1979, my dad helped to build it, and some great memories of being in and around. And so Bellarmine was a St Robert's primary school.
You played football through school as well.
Yep.
Football was a big part of. Andy, we had Jim McCallaghan in here a couple of weeks ago, who's 75 now, but he was talking about his era, and it just rolled off his tongue. School teachers' names and PE teachers' names and community leaders' names. Football in those days was about contacts that your teacher had with the football clubs. That was the kind of network that was going on. Your teacher would say to somebody at the school, he's quite good. Not you, obviously, but he's quite good, that boy. Tell somebody about him. And that would be the recommendation to get taken in for a wee trial or whatever. Are you replacing that now with youth football? Because that doesn't seem easy.
Aye. And a Saturday morning, it was you played for your primary school. A Saturday afternoon, I played for the Boys Guild. A Sunday, I played for Hillington Youth Club, which was a good standard for about 11-year-old. That was a norm. You know, that was your routine. And when you weren't playing for a team, you were out on the park having a big sidey. So like Danny Stewart, when we were the Muirshield boys, the Glenmuir boys would come in.
The rivalries.
We were at West Ham. They were the Tottenham. They came in with our white straps on and all that. We won the white. You know. So it was great catching up with Danny again when we started playing
walking
football. Danny had been in helping as well, and Nicky Pasternak was one of my old teachers at Bellarmine as well. So again, it was great.
He's part of the problem, and he's to blame, really.
Brilliant. Still amazed at the level, you know, that they're still enjoying and getting involved at, you know. So
football for life.
Inspirational, and the number of conversations, and you know, we're maybe rolling on a wee bit now with you know, the guys that still want to can still run, and you know, so the pilot that we're doing is great as well, and it's taking that maybe step a wee level, and we'll see if that does kind of continue or not. So
it's been quite controversial on the video. We did a wee interview with Gordon McAllister because it was his idea to try it. The hybrid of walking football, and it's on YouTube now, and it's created quite a wee bit of controversy with some people saying, and I would consider myself a walking football purist. I like the other end of walking football that includes people that wouldn't normally get a game, and the guys that are fit enough to play the hybrid version, their day will come as far as walking football. But that's just my view. But on YouTube, it's been quite controversial. People very strong opinions about it, basically saying if they're no walking, it's got nothing to do with walking football. But it's that old something for everyone, the age groups. Because there's over 35s football, isn't there?
We've got over 35s, over 40s. So George is involved in that, which I'm involved in. Some of the guys that are playing, the coaches kind of team there.
Have we got an over 40s team here?
Yep, playing today.
And is that 11-a-side normal football rules?
Yep. So I still
with the defib on the side, obviously. And an ambulance sitting outside.
We're doing alright, we're formed, and George has brought some of the guys over for Queen's Park, so they've got their over 40s team, and we've mixed it up with 7 or 8 guys for Pollock. So,
and I'm saying I'm interested in the over 60s really and onwards, so there's that gap, and that's where the hybrid version comes in, where people are still fit enough to run about it.
51 now, so started, you know, playing the walking football, but still able to dip in and out of the
I suppose it's like everything else, it'll evolve on demand. What people look for will provide it, you know, it'll be there for.
There's a decent league there, and Wears are a local team. We've got we played Partick Young Boys the other weekend with a good result.
They're a good gang. They're good at that spray painting and all that.
So a good result. So it's a Sunday to play every fortnight. So it's no too onerous. You're getting a fortnight to recover.
We're way ahead of ourselves. Secondary school. Playing football 3 times a weekend. That's ironic now. You can't play 10 minutes without getting injured.
Falling over or kicking somebody, getting sent off.
And where did that go? Where did that go with the football? Did you look to get signed, or were you any good?
I was alright. Well, I was always known as Davy Elliot's brother.
Oh, right.
My brother Davy played with Dundee United. Him and Billy McKinley were S forms at the time, and played with Hamilton Thistle together, and then progressed. So my brother David then got signed with Dundee United. Jim McLean signed him. Right. So I was a lot of time.
So you never got paid, but you got signed.
He was at YTS. That's still live. So a lot of times I was a goalie that Davy would be firing us off at a young age. I was initially, but then moved to being a defender. Probably the highest I go. I played by Partick Thistle's BP Youth Cup team. Played a few times for them until we get knocked out. Played for Leeds Legs, so
you played for Pollock as well, didn't you?
Aye. My club was Hillington Youth Club, so I played for them for 9 years. We won a couple of Scottish Cups. I was a captain, and then Pollock Juniors came. They did 21s at the time, and just in my testimonial year for Hillington as well. And they asked me to sign. They took me out to Newlandsfield, and that's where my kind of real connection with Pollock Juniors started. So they took me out to Newlandsfield, gave us a tour in the dressing rooms, and asked me to sign for the 21s. And for the 2 years I was with the 21s, I trained every Monday, Wednesday with the juniors. So that got me kind of, and
got you fit.
Aye, certainly, and got me ready. And when I was no longer under 21s, the juniors, I signed for Pollock for 2 years. And you know, I enjoyed great times. Yep, great times at that moment. And
where did you play, Andy, at the back?
Aye. So mainly right back. biggest asset. I had a long shy,
Right.
so I was a kind of Rory Delap. I could throw it to the back.
See, when they said you were the shy boy, I thought that's why we've not had you in here. 'Cause I thought
There's
you
other things have been that's kind worse than that have been called.
How far are we talking? What's a long throw? Back post?
Under 18s, we played Queen's Park with Hillington at Hampden, and I threw it to the back post at Hampden. And they actually scored, but they get disallowed. So that was, I've had that on film at the time. So that was my big.
Trying to find that.
Aye. So that was a good measure, and sometimes actually.
Remember who you're talking to here? Our research.
Aye. There could be a Betamax somewhere of that, you know.
The old reel.
So that was my asset, and I remember playing
It's a weapon,
over at
isn't it? Really,
Nethercraigs, playing Clydebank, and I remember talking to one of the guys and said the coach has told us, don't put it out for a shy, just put it out for a corner, because it was less dangerous, you know. So that was I used to come off after the game.
I suppose you can judge and aim the throw even better, you know, pinpoint stuff, isn't it?
But there was times I would come off and my legs would be fine, but my arms would be killing. I would take the shies from everywhere on the pitch, so I'd be like that. You know, I could run
back.
But my arms won this.
Did you practice that?
No, I think a lot of people have asked me. It was just a natural thing, and actually, my son Daniel, he's actually can throw it further. But we used to go in the back garden a medicine ball, and I would then get him practicing. And that was something that he's now taken over as the.
You know how you put the ball up there to dry it and all that up the cheek? I've still got one.
I remember one time I moved from Pollock to Largs, and there was a guy who used to stand on the shy line to stop you throwing.
Stop you getting it.
And at one point, so I actually one time just threw the ball and hit the guy, and actually broke my arm. So that was the manager was.
How was he?
You know. He wasn't so good. He was like the blood might have been pouring out his.
He'd been told to do that, obviously.
It was a
knew about you by then.
Yep. So that was there was many times it was used as a real threat. Let's say. So,
and would you throw it front post as well? Would that be the thing? Because they're all expecting it to go as far as possible.
I remember we was at Anthony's, we were playing Port Glasgow, and it was a league decider. And
you played for the Ants as well.
Yep, I finished my career the centenary year. We opened up McKenna Park, so I remember against Port Glasgow, and that was a front post one, just
flatlined it.
Bullet it, and it was just a wee flick, and we won 1-0, and that was a goal. One is a game. So at times, actually, goalkeepers would try and save it, and it would just bounce off their hand. And
that's why you don't want to walk in football, because we don't throw it in. You'd ruin the game if you take a shy.
I'm talking to Gordon just now about actually this hybrid. we need to introduce shies to help me.
We've got goalies can hardly throw the ball out the box, and it's a 6-yard box.
And again, just to be careful. If I was maybe in goals, I could maybe play in goals as well. So, but it would need to make sure.
We're talking.
So we might try that.
We might not.
We might try it on a Monday.
Take a note of that.
Yep. So I played with.
It's funny because some people, as you know, can't throw a shy the length of themselves. They're just hopeless.
And the strange thing, I can't take a shot shy.
Right.
I can't do a shot throwing. I would almost do a full shy because I can't.
It's all or nothing. It's got to be the full action.
Long, aye. So that was part of my signing, and I went and played junior for about 15 years. I went to Largs. Highlight of that, we played in the Scottish Junior Cup final at Ibrox.
Right.
There was some.
You won?
We won 1-0 against Alan Ruff's Glenafton. We were a second division team.
Right.
Ruffy's team were the holders, Glenafton, and my claim was I get sent off. Four of us get sent off. It was the day after the Duncan Ferguson scenario with Jock McStay,
and you were all copying them.
Yep, we were. Get sent off for 4 minutes to go, and so managed to go out and enjoy.
2 from each team sent off.
Yep.
Just a Barney.
Yep.
Just a Barney.
It wasn't handbags. It there was a few handbags, and but that was potentially one of the.
I'm sure it was handbags, junior football, and a bit. Before it gets sent off, I'm sure it was handbags.
Still won the trophy and down to Largs, open top bus, amazing, absolutely amazing. We beat Paul up in the quarterfinals, so they'd released me about 4 months before, and I hadn't been cup tie, so we went back to Newsfield in the quarterfinals.
That's sweet.
Paul, massive favourite, so that was.
That sweet?
To say the manager released me, thanks for doing that, mate, and off season we can come and watch us in the final, so that was brilliant. We played Kilwinning in the semis, biggest crowd of the season at Somerset Park they'd had, so 6,500, and then the final was live on STV as well. So
it's something that happens regularly in football, as players going back to play against their old club. And it usually works out that there's circumstances like that, and your life's like that. That you're going back 4 months later. You weren't cup tied because they hadn't played you.
Yep.
How much does that affect your performance on the day, do you think?
That was massive, and we actually went down to 10 men. My brother Davey played in that team as well, and he gets sent off with about half an hour to go, so we really had to dig in, and that was a battle, and came off the park. That was a
sweet.
Aye. I had a lot of friends.
Of
My
course,
cousins, two of my cousins supported Pollock. They were the first people to take me to a Pollock game, and they were standing, on the halfway line, and happy days, giving my wee wave, and for the Largs fans, it was amazing, absolutely amazing for the Largs supporters who.
Smooth the last time they won in.
They done no bad. They go to another couple of finals. Unfortunately, they've never managed to actually lift that again. But a lot of great friends down in Largs as a result. Stayed for 5 years, but it was just getting too much. Travelling up and down the Monday and a Wednesday for training, and then moved. Played with Irvine Meadow for a couple of years. Went to Hurlford for a couple of seasons. Then the kids.
It lasted long anyway, really did.
We actually.
What was the problem?
Actually, my manager at Largs had moved, and he eventually signed us for Hurlford, and at the time Irvine Meadow were a massive club, and they'd asked, and I think maybe
always the right back.
Aye, right back, left back, and then when I moved to St Anthony's, my best pal was talking about signing for them, and travelling in Ayrshire for about 10 years. Then my Daniel was just being born, so I decided decided enough of travelling up in Ayrshire for training and games then during the.
And what were you doing for a living during all this then, Andy? What was your profession?
I was a housing officer. Worked initially with the housing department in the council. So when I left school at 16, got a YTS, did that, then became a housing assistant. Yep, and actually my first night at 19 looking after Corket Hill, so this was 500 flat roof tenements, the pub next door, the
of course, I remember them.
So challenging. I grew up in Priesthill in the same type of houses, so I knew the kind of issues with dampness, flat roofs, the heating, windies that were falling out. So I think that helped me.
There used to be bits falling off the buildings, because I know that a police panda car parked just up the road here, and when the guys came back, there was something just through the roof. It had fallen off the building.
Happened often.
And thankfully there's no one in it.
Aye. So that's another story. But so I was.
Who were you that night?
Aye. So it looked like that.
You're not obliged to say anything.
But so I started with the housing department.
Is this the old housing office?
This was actually the local repair team, so the hub, again I used to, at 19, this was you come in and talk to the guys about the repairs, and tenants would be able to come in. So
you've been about this building for 30 years?
When it was first built, used to come in and get a cup of tea, or you would come in and just use it as a wee drop in, using the phone at that time, because we never had mobiles in.
Yes.
So it has a great deal of history, and got to know a lot of the workmen, and I just try to help people that.
So are we squatting in here now?
No, we're putting it to good use. It would have closed down and due to the new super home, because it was a daycare centre, a couple of years ago, and fortunately we got, it was good timing. The old neighbourhood hall had fallen into disrepair, and
that's the one further up towards Dennis Donnelly.
We wanted to put that into use, but it just needed too much work, and it would have cost a lot of money.
So let's go back to working. You worked until quite recently.
Yep. So
I mean, you don't work now.
housing,
No, I mean, you were employed by the council.
housing department became the GHA, the Glasgow Housing Association. So we transferred over. Worked in a couple of different jobs. We were modernising a lot of the houses, insulating. So I was kind of dealing with a lot of projects, which was great. And became the kind of deputy manager, and then things had changed again. There was a restructure, so I went back to being a housing officer.
Okay.
Covered Craigton, just up the road, but still would deal with the surrounding area if required to help some of my colleagues.
And football all through that until I take it your mid-30s. When did you finish playing?
I think it was about 35 with St Anthony's. I finished up with St Anthony's and then started the coaching when Daniel was born at an early age. So that was with Pollock.
With Pollock Juniors?
It was then the Pollock United Soccer Academy. So Harry,
that had been invented. That had been running for a long time.
2011, there was a re-establishment of what was the old Pollock United, but Harry Fenyon and Brendan Boyle had a team at that time. There was only 2 teams still under the Pollock name, but they were launching the Pollock United Soccer Academy in 2011. So I guess
whereabouts?
Got some flyers.
Is it Bellahouston?
Bellahouston, just in the park. In the park at that time, and we used the game salt. So I went along after a week. Brendan and Harry had a jumper on me, so that was me. That was it. Started 2011, and I took over the running of the 2003's age group that was at that time, and quickly started recruiting. Got in tow with Harry, particularly around the site, which is now Dennis Donnelly Park.
What was that site, Andy?
It was an old Red Blaze pitch. It was derelict, overgrown. People just it was a dog toilet basically. The area had started being regenerated by that point. New houses built, and we were heavily involved in it with GHA. So a lot of our work was around better lives, better homes, better lives. So easy to make better homes and invest money, which they did millions of pounds, but to make better lives. Part of and that's where then I linked in with Leslie McGregor. Leslie McGregor was the Better Lives officer with GHA, and Leslie did some fantastic work. We done like a community garden. We would do multi-use games areas. We would do fitness. The wee sit-on machines that you have dotted about. So Leslie and I had spoke to Harry at that point. And went, wouldn't it be great if
Harry
Fenyon,
right?
So he used to run past the site of Dennis Donnelly Park and go, wouldn't that be wonderful
if you do something
that was, astroturfed and turned back in. It was if the goals were still up, there was still a football pitch, but just let's say you wouldn't know it. You could play hide and seek.
There's quite a few of them about the city, isn't there, where the goals are still standing, but the grass is like that.
Part of the problem was Nethercraigs at that time was there, but it was too expensive for a lot of the teams to use. I think it was about £40 for an hour for a third of a pitch, and if you want to have a cup, somebody would have to be put in. It was always the coach had to then say, I'm going to pay maybe £80 to get a coaching session on, or stuff like that. So we decided, let's
you and Leslie.
Yep. So Harry planted the seed, and Leslie and I went and looked at different funding streams, and fortunately there was cash back for communities, and it was partly money that came from proceeds of crime, and we'd applied.
This has gone full circle.
We'd applied for that and were successful. The maximum you were meant to get, I think, was like 18,000 per councillor's ward, and we put in for, I think it was 96,000
to build that.
Yep. That was just about the AstroTurf down, and so we were successful. We didn't think we would be because of the limit that had been set. So we got that, and then we went, no, we can't put an AstroTurf down without having a fence on it. So we went to the council. They gave us the money for, I think it was about 30,000 to get the fence.
God, I wish it had been 35,000. It could have been a wee bit higher for Chris Burke's.
Yes, for some of the clearances.
The boys we've lost in the railway up there, and we've actually lost players up there.
Aye, many a times. And so we then
the train drivers are never off.
Aye. A boy ended up at the central station. So we spoke to the football partnership, Stuart McCafferty. So then the dressing rooms. So and then we went with all of this, like we've not got floodlights. So we went and spoke to Sport Scotland, and
of this by this time?
They then, because of it, was, it was like a cocktail of funders. So basically all in there.
See, when you say you spoke to these people, I'm bearing in mind you're from Priest Hill here.
Aye.
We've had one of the family in here been interviewed recently. Yeah. Was it one of those offers you can't refuse situations?
We were quite convincing. If we can't do this, we'll have to hand this money back. And it was you're then running.
Yeah, it's a domino effect. We've got this. It's pointless without this. Yeah.
So it turned out then Sport Scotland agreed, and we then it was about 300,000.
Was this your learning curve for you as well, or have you always been a good scrounger, Andy?
I've always done all right. I've always done okay. But that was something to get to that kind of level.
Wow. You're talking a couple $100,000 here now.
Aye, nearly 300,000, and it wasn't a full size because of the site.
That's right.
We went as
big,
that couldn't. But it was a great training pitch, and Dennis Donnelly, a lot of people might know or heard of the pitch. So Dennis was involved in the regeneration of Corkerhill, and
right, I was going to ask you about Dennis Donnelly.
Had passed away. A great football man. He'd actually been signed by Alex Ferguson when he was a boy with Aberdeen, and so had then played more locally with junior clubs, but was involved in the regeneration of Cork.
This area,
yes, and was a tremendous and a great person.
And using the past tense, Andy, what happened?
He unfortunately passed away, had a heart attack while playing football one Friday. So he passed away.
Right.
And I thought,
what age was Dennis?
He was 45 at the time, so he was kind of well liked and worked in housing, so really helped a lot of people to be rehoused, had to be decanted, and
what a great tribute to him.
Yeah, so we thought there's the pitch, and we just didn't want it being there's a pitch in Corkerhill, that Alex Pollock's pitch or Pollock United's, but we agreed to do that, and that was it's been fantastic.
So at this stage, you've got all that money, grant money, to put the fence up and the porta cabins and the pitch and all the rest of it. There must have been some entity then. It's not just Andy going to his bank account and putting 300,000 in and paying for it. Had you created the charity at that point?
In 2013 we became
the reason I'm asking this is because I know there's lots of clubs out there that are now creating what you've done. They're starting to get involved in community trust. But I was at Peters Hill on Saturday at a cup final, and it's a Partick Thistle Community Trust that run Peters Hill now. So this model that you've been doing for 10, 11 years has been repeated all over the country. So what's the entity, what's the legal entity that allows
we at the time, it was a Scottish Charitable Incorporated organisation, so a SCIO it's known as. So we formed a SCIO at that time, and that was Pollock United. We get charitable status at that time, which allowed us other benefits when we built Dennis.
And that's just a registration, that goes to Company's House, I take it, and it's a formal business that you've created there with that title.
So,
as opposed to a partnership or whatever else.
So many things like you get water rates exemption, you can claim gift aid if you're a charity.
As long as you satisfy the criteria.
You're applying for funding if you're a charity.
You do the books and all the rest of it goes along with it. So you're a SCIO and have been since 2011?
2013. Right. 2013. The club was formed in 2011, and then it took a wee bit of time to get the charitable status and tick all the boxes. And it coincided with opening Dennis Donnelly because as a facility run by volunteers, our trustees, being a charity as well, you're protected, if something was to go wrong.
Yes.
So from building the Dennis Donnelly Park, that allowed us to grow, and we just went, suddenly, the numbers increased.
The kids coming for training, the age group, coaches.
We linked in with Pollock FC at that point. We created our affiliation, and they came and trained at Dennis Donnelly Park also on a Monday and a Wednesday. And then we got to the stage.
The Pollock FC team, the old juniors team.
So got to the stage where we had no more capacity, so we then linked in with Glasgow Life and then started.
When was that?
It was probably about 2015-16. We would use Nethercraigs as our home park on a Saturday and a Sunday for all of our teams, because Dennis Donnelly Park wasn't big enough for 11-a-side.
Was that Astro at that point?
Aye.
The one Astro and how many grass parks?
Three grass pitch and a rugby pitch. So we were already using the facility, but because we had so many teams now to allow us to continue to grow and the participation, which we then became a quality mark club as well. So through the SFA, and that's a bit make sure we have
standards of coaching,
every group. We have para football. We have clearly the girls. We have a number of boys teams. So at that time we were doing everything.
You oversee all of that?
Aye. My role was.
So during that period, you've got staff now. You've got staff now on board. Leslie's gone, unfortunately. She left last year. She'd done her time, I suppose, and she had to move on and do other things. But you've got other staff as well. So how did that grow? That infrastructure?
Again, volunteers. Liz Robb was our finance manager, and Liz was a volunteer for a few years, and then it got to the stage that Ben says, can we take you on part-time? And it's now almost become a full-time role. That Liz had finance.
She deals with the bookings and everything.
Leslie was around governance and a lot of stuff, the funding and doing the reports around that. I was more kind of hands-on and linking in with
cutting grass. Which is tricky at Dennis Donnelly. That's why you got across here to get some grass. Dennis Donnelly must have been a nightmare for you in that tractor.
So particularly with COVID, it really was a strange time, and because at that point we were using 90% of Nethercraigs because we had so many teams. The majority of the lets were then taken by us. Glasgow Life.
Were you paying Glasgow Life for those lets?
Yep, we were paying them thousands of pounds every month, and at the time then things were starting to reopen up after COVID, and there was still a lockdown of a lot of stuff, but outdoor activities were starting to come back, and we spoke to the local councillors and the officers at Glasgow Life saying, well, we already manage your own facility. If you're not going to open it,
is this last year then? Is this a year ago?
Yep, that was in fact October 2020.
I know it's hard 2020, 21.
Yep, so that's it. We've been, as part of our COVID activation pilot, there was 3 sites in Glasgow. Ourselves, Springburn and Stepford were asked if you want to take over the running. There was 11 acres over there, so we decided at that time we would do it in phases. Phase 1 would be the Astro. We would get the Astro open back up again. Phase 2 would be the rugby pitch and the running track. Phase 3 would be the grass pitches, and Phase 4 would potentially be the building. The building
itself.
So very quickly we got up and running, because we had a booking system, because we had Liz dealing with transactions. We at that time we weren't doing the maintenance initially.
Carol and Debbie, we need to mention them.
Carol and Debbie were our community engagement officers, so they at that time then would taken on the running also of the hub. When
did that come on board?
That was in December 2020 as well, just before we got the keys just before Christmas and into the town. So rather than boarding the place up and turning the gas off and turning the electricity off, again,
is that what was going to happen?
The place would have been boarded up and probably fell into disrepair. So we decided, right, and the council again could come to us because we had a track record of managing our own facility. Dennis Donnelly Park had really been we could evidence, it was going really well, everything being run as it should be, and we had a good.
Were you in the other building for a while up near Dennis Donnelly Park?
No, we did use it occasionally, but it was still run by a different committee. It was a local residents group, but we had a strong committee with strong governance. Our trustees were in place, who had a great.
The charity background. Was in place.
So the council, and fair dues to the guys.
Is that because of the infrastructure Wesley put in place?
Yes, probably. Very much. She put so many of these things, and she had experience of dealing with other community organisations through her Better Lives role with GHA. So she had that support from Leslie that we knew we were doing the right thing, and particularly taking on Nethercraigs. It was 50%. Wow, what a chance! It's bigger than Murray Park and Lennoxtown, and we're then going back 50% frightening, you know. So Leslie and I spoke about this a lot, saying.
And what's Wade at the tractor? The chance to drive the tractor.
The wee machine we already had for Dennis Donnelly brushing the Astro, so we'd, you know. But then this was getting up a wee notch or two, you know, looking after 11 acres. So very quickly we got into the swing of things, and it's not just about Pollock. This, you know, I think we've got maybe 50 teams who are not Pollock, who grassroots. They've been running a coaching session.
Basketball going on. You've got all sorts of things.
We converted a couple of pitches into netball pitches. We do boot camp. We do various. It's a sports hub. It's not just a football facility.
And it's still growing. Because we're not out of lockdown entirely. We're out of lockdown. We're not away from COVID yet entirely. So it's still coming back. You're talking about a cycling track.
We've just taken the delivery of 12 bikes. 4 of them are electric. So we're going to start. And again, it's more aimed at older people, adding 5 years of you know, worthwhile life rather than just living a bit of active life for, you know, longer. And we're linking in with Blackwood around that wee project. So the track is use. They were Margaret Blackwood Housing Association. There's a project that they're involved with in 3 sites in Scotland that is Peoplehood. And again, it's a different.
We were in the magazine this month. So
doing some great stuff, and so around the use of the running track, that we'll use that for cycling. So getting people's fitness and confidence up before then they maybe start taking a bike out on the roads. So we're looking forward to that.
How many people do you think use Nethercraigs in a week then? With kids and coaches.
I mean, some nights there could be 400 or 500 kids and youths and adults. So the younger ones are in maybe from the back of 5. So you could have, you know, 2,000-3,000 easily. And there's also folk who come in, casual users who come in and use a pitch. You're no part of, and we run.
You mean climb the fence?
Climb the fences and come in and you know, maybe hit a golf ball about or walk the dog. It's a safe area, so people know Nethercraigs are a safe area. There's also, if parents or anybody want to come in and get a cup of tea, there's tea and coffee at the reception.
This is all before the building becomes. Because you're limited just now. What stage? You said stage 1, 2, 3, 4. You've done stage 1, obviously. Is it now stage 4 that's the next step?
Well, that and so the new, we're putting in a new boiler system and heating system. So that's nearly completed now. So we have the gym, we have the dance studio.
Are they open?
Still closed. They're still closed just now. So in the coming weeks we'll have the dance studio.
Because our boys all come ready to play, as you know. And even if they get soaked to get in their car and go home, it'd be nice to have somewhere in there that they can get changed.
So that'll be in the coming weeks. The dressing rooms have been open now for about, you know, maybe a year, and the toilets we were working
for the teams that book it for a game.
So we were working with only one portal at one point that when the building was closed, so we had to just bring in some form of toilet provision, and that was, so thinking back, pretty frightening to think that's how we were operating.
Is it going to transfer from Glasgow Life entirely then? It's going to be yours.
So there's an application being made to people make Glasgow's communities. I think there's about 80 sites in Glasgow, 80 facilities in Glasgow that are currently going through that process. We've now been approved by the officers. We're now going to the council's property committee and contracts and properties committee in June. So if that gets approved by the councillors, we will then enter into negotiations around the heads of terms of
for taking over.
Lease. It'll be a 25-year lease, and we need to discuss what those heads of terms will be around that.
Because there's some commitment for 25 years.
Our legal team and you know, things like maybe the track. There's not many people use it. Is it viable to keep a track? We've got a rugby pitch. There's not a lot of rugby teams. Even the grass pitches, they take a lot of work to keep them, you know, maybe only getting used on a Saturday morning, and then that's it, they'll lie for the rest.
So what are your income streams from Nethercraigs then? Just to hire the facilities?
The lets. We do a lot of community programmes, so like we've been just doing the McDonald's fun football session, so that's kids of you know, primary school age. We do a Friday night project. We're involved in mental health. We do tackle and recovery. We're doing a still game project, again for older people. We do
Walking football.
The walking football, it varies ages. So a Tuesday night we've got the guys coming in that do the over 50s. We've got the Monday session. We have the coaches coming in on a Wednesday evening.
We had the Sunday morning.
Yep, Sunday, which has been fantastic.
Before the league started up again.
Yep. We're doing now community sessions. So the McDonald's projects is these things that maybe run for 12 weeks, but then we're doing more community programmes across the road this morning. There's loads of kids who are maybe no part of teams, who are maybe on waiting lists. Can they get a place in a team because the numbers are that age group might be full? We'll bring them into community sessions. Just shows that they're still kicking a ball, and hopefully when the space opens up, we can put them forward.
And there's football, then there's the wider sports facility that it is, and then there's the hub. There's lots of things going on in here as well. You mentioned still game, but there's armchair aerobics. Carol does a tea party. A chat and a
chatty cafe on a Friday. There's a sewing class on a Friday.
Yoga has been a big thing with Debbie.
The cooking classes on a Thursday. We've got mother and toddlers on a Tuesday.
And the girls got a regular beauty salon.
Next door. We do the sport.
Which I go to regularly, obviously.
Get your nails done. So the sport memories on a Monday. The guys come in after their sessions. Get a cup of tea. And
that's got a lot of potential that we've not really tapped in because of COVID we couldn't really go to the nursing homes or anything like that. But that's starting to grow arms and legs. We do a dementia session now, and we do a Parkinson's session at Tory Glen. So these are things that will expand into local communities as well.
So on the IT on the Monday morning, which one I need to get signed up for. Sorry, improve my IT skills. So So there's various things. It's all non-football related. We do karate. I think on a Tuesday night there's a dance group come in as well. So there's just numerous, and anybody.
And that's the name of the game, is getting it used as much as possible. Kids'
birthday parties, communions coming up during this month of May. All sorts. So it's great.
And that's 10 years. 11 maybe. This is your
11th year.
So to start off with, the foundation is those contacts with the funding organisations that make anything possible. Sports Scotland and people like that you mentioned. And then it's getting the right people round about you, I would suggest, Andy. Like Carol was, Leslie.
And then now Debbie's been taking on a lot of the funding, work that again is crucial, and it's not just applying, there's then a lot of other things you've got to do, and monitoring what you're spending and reporting on numbers of participants.
It's all got to be meticulous and audited. I get the feeling that sometimes I'm reluctant to say, how you doing, Andy, when I pass you out in the park or coming in here, because I could be there for half an hour listening to you, because you just give me all this, because you've got so much going on in your head. Is one of the dangers of doing this, and this is for the benefit of anyone else that's setting up a similar operation, that it can grow so many arms and legs. It's hard to say no to people, isn't it? It's like charity work. I used to do a lot of charity work, and you say yes to everyone. You could go mad 24/7. It could be. Have you managed to manage this now into your lifestyle? Because it's not just a job; it's a vacation.
It's not a job. It's you're just doing something that you love, and unfortunately, I do. I'm the club manager. We're just about to appoint a chief exec who will take on a lot of the stuff that is more strategic stuff.
So you're going to devolve some of this?
And then that'll be delegated, and the chief exec will take that. And we've got a fantastic chairperson in Sarah Friel. So I meet regularly with Sarah as well now, just to get the feeling, Roy as well, and other trustees that we've got who are really playing a very active role now in what we do and steering how we want to go forward. I brought in George Watson from Queen's Park. Been with Queen's Park for a number of years. So George is
driving. He only goes to teams that are in black and white, I think.
Right.
I've had that conversation with him.
I didn't know they say that. He just takes that badge.
You must be colourblind.
He's got that Velcro badge on that black jacket. I'll need to say to him about that. So bringing in George, bringing in the chief exec, having the trustees being more involved.
Yes.
As the whole thing gets bigger. I'm no good at delegating. I'm probably across the road maybe eight days a week. I don't get to Dennis Donnelly Park now as much as what I'd like to, but Davey's up there a lot of the time dealing with things. Yep, and we've got Mick and Harry, who are janitors, have been since the last 10 years.
See if you got a tractor driver in, that would maybe free up about half your week.
No, nobody's getting
Nobody's getting the keys.
You can maybe the line painting machine can, when that works, that's been kicked a few times, so it has been. I'm going to get a set of shin guards.
Maybe you can get people to pay for a shot in the tractor.
Top soil syndrome.
Aye. We go-karts for them. But they've got a cutting plate, but the go-karts have got a cutting plate, so there's guys even have suggested even like a wee mini nine-hole goal. I don't know who would ever
football,
crazy football.
Yeah,
for half an hour. I'll go for it.
Or a wee putting green.
Aye. The opportunities are endless, and again it goes back to being 50% wow and 50% oh my god, and I've been talking to other clubs around the area that I'm meeting with, actually a couple next week, that want to see about the model, as you say, that we've created, and there's a community interest company we've set up to run Nethercraigs, and that was having spoke to some of the guys at Glasgow Life and other folk in the council, so it gives us that wee bit of protection that if it was to go wrong, the community interest company, of which there's 3 of us that are directors, who basically look after it, and it's doing really well. We've turned a massive loss-making facility into something we don't make a profit. We'll get reserves that we will invest. In 3 years' time, we might need £250,000 in the bank to resurface the asphalt.
Of course, yes, it's always
people
ongoing.
People don't realise that we will probably not get grants to do that type of work. It has to be self-sufficient.
But you told me about new goals that you bought, or was it just nets or whatever?
No, new goals. Stuart McCaffrey in the football partnership helped us with that. It was only a couple of grand, but again, just
a couple of grand for goals.
Easily.
Jimmy Russell asked me to ask you a special request. Could you get a higher fence behind the goals?
It's or
bigger goals even.
I will also mention
rugby goals. See the rugby goals with a big net on them. That would do Jimmy Russell.
Well, I must mention, Glasgow are the Parkhead Welding Company. Gus McDonald and Billy, who owns Parkhead Welding, a number of things that they've done. That was one of the ones that they helped to increase the height of the fence on the riverside, because there's too many balls floating away down the cart, never to be seen again. But
still not high enough.
Particularly the guys, and Gus has been brilliant, and still on a regular basis.
We used to get a cherry picker in to get Jim and Chris's balls back through the field behind there.
And the roof was a lot more as a flat roof. There's many a time I've had to get the ladder out to go up onto the flat roof, and but there's been so many folk that have been brilliant and offering help.
One of the big things, Andy, when I met you over at Bellhouston, you were obviously scouting. You were over scouting for players, and you saw us playing walking football, and you were obviously so impressed with the standard that you came and spoke to me to try and sign me. And you spoke to me about walking football because you were fascinated with what we were trying to do. And straight away we struck up the relationship that's now Paul United Walking Football Group. Who are still rubbish, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. One of the first things we did, and it was just before lockdown, unfortunately, I never got a chance to develop then, was the friendly with Charitable. Do you remember that day we went over to
first game.
Donald Tour?
My first game.
Their first game. And we went in the minibus. Some of the boys went in the minibus, and it was such an experience for some of these guys who had never been in a team environment. You and I have been in team buses all over the country, but they'd never been in that, going through the tunnel and going to a strange place as a team in the bus with the banter and the changing rooms and all the rest.
The disco lights were on, and
and we've not got the minibus now. What's the situation with a minibus?
Aye, but there's a gearbox problem, and unfortunately that's been 6 months now. I've been without the bus, so if there's anybody who is able to help with a bus, then it might be a bit, we're hoping that it might still be repairable.
Because it's a big part of the club, isn't it? But for the boys as well, we go away to camp.
Just take it for granted. We took it.
Yes, for the charity thing. We go to a lot of charity tournaments.
So the guy scored a double hat trick that day, remember?
No, I don't remember that at all. Sorry, Andy, what were you saying?
So it's funny when you get back, just at lunchtime I used to go down to the gym, and I worked in Moss Park Boulevard, so I nipped down at lunchtime for half an hour. But that's where, on the treadmills, many people have then looking down onto the stadia below and seeing brilliant things happening. So just one of the days when I finished, I come in and I kind of asked who's the guy that's running here, and again it had been something I'd thought about, and that's where I think with LinkedIn, and sometimes on the wooden floor I thought, is that can be bad for the joints, or so having known the outdoor space at Dennis Donnelly to introduce that. And at the time Leslie and I were talking about not just we were covered for all the age groups that we had, but what about the extended Pollock family? What about the mums, the dads, the guys, granddads, aunties and uncles? And that was one of the things then we right away we seen, we could introduce that for the Pollock family and the wider. And it was great the way that things had, or unfortunately due to COVID, we had to stop, and we allowed allow us to open up Dennis Donnelly Park to allow not long after the guys to get back on, who are probably many might have been struggling with mental health.
Totally. Yes, it was a lifesaver.
Isolation.
It's only now that's apparent. Guys still say to me a year down the road, that's amazing what we did at Dennis Donnelly. That we managed to get out of the house, and it was a lifesaver for many who were stuck in their own.
Even with Tommy Sheridan, I know, but at the time Tommy then had he had a team that he played on a Tuesday and a Friday way, and right away went, right Tom, and I get involved in that, and that was, even myself, that became a bit of a lifeline as well. Again, that was proper football. But that Tommy would, he was, I think him and I were walking the majority.
He's always played walking.
Point and just
walking would be an advancement,
and a fair bit of talking. And I don't know if that's where the walking football might have originated from there, but. So it was great to be able to help, and again then when we got the opportunity to then really move forward with
and because of the restrictions at that time, we couldn't come back here for a coffee or anything, even the garden and all the rest of it. And once that opened up, then we started to see the strength of the whole thing. The patio area at the back, so folk didn't even have to come into the building. If I still felt a bit apprehensive, the tables were outside, the chairs, the weather was okay, so it allowed us to invite folk back, and quite often on the pitch you maybe didn't get that chance to have that wee, they might have sown a wee seed about something, not a biscuit, what was it, you get maybe a wee private. It's why this started, it's why the interview started, because when Chris and I did the first one, which was just a muck around with Davy Denham, folk were saying, I never knew that he was a Clyde fan, and he came from, because we never shared cars anymore, we couldn't go for a coffee anymore, so you played football for an hour and then you all went home, and we never got to know each other because of the restrictions, so that's why this started, I think.
Quite often my question would be, well, a lot of guys is like, what's he do? So I know Carol and Debbie have often come in, we need that worktop fit. So David Brown's been, where is he being Hugh? Could you actually get me that worktop as well? So it's not even the fit and all of it, and many things like that. You can paint, you can do a bit of gardening.
There are other top fitters, worktop fitters available. I don't want Davey getting in contact with everybody in the world. You have any idea how many people watch these things?
Even more at one point, unfortunately, the gutters are being cleaned, but that's
Leslie said one day, Leslie was brilliant at it. You and her have learned how to ask for things over the last 10 years, obviously, because she came in with the almost the tears in the eyes. These skirting boards, I don't know what to do with them. If any of you got a wee hammer or anything that you said, and the next week they all come in with their joiners bags, they were fighting over it.
But that's how we've done a lot of things, in here and across the road. That we've modernised. We painted this whole place. We put new flooring down, and various things. Who folk who they've got skills, and we're putting these skills to great use.
It's an ongoing process, isn't it? So many strands to it, Andy. So here we are, 2022, the start of the summer, hopefully. What's the year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year plan for Pollock United?
It's kind of changed a wee bit. Again, we're hopefully getting a new boss in, the chief exec, hopefully come in and look at direction. We've done a feasibility study, we've done a business plan. Now things like, say, with the fuel prices now, we're looking at across the road, the floodlights, can we get LED lights fitted and allow us to keep football, this is going to be something really important, keeping football affordable especially for a lot. So where the fuel prices start to go up, and there's going to be an energy crisis and fuel poverty. So
People
we're looking at,
here.
we're talking to the SFA, we're talking to the Football Partnership, we're possibly going to be talking to the government and Sport Scotland. You know, so things like these facilities, like get the lights changed, you know, to LEDs. That keeps, you know,
how much would that save? What, a half of it?
I mean, we've estimated things. The cost might increase by 72%.
Right.
Glasgow
and the LED would offset that
absolutely,
to some degree anyway.
Absolutely. We're looking at even solar. There's a number of ideas that we're trying to do, and even like the recycling of football boots and football kit. Again, just
I saw you've got a thing up there with boots in it with different sizes of boots. That's just for carrying them in.
Some of the, you know, they've hardly been worn. Kids have grown out them. So the more activities we can get, you know, like say we're doing the McDonald's projects. We're doing Friday night football with a pride to the children's lottery. To, you know, kids can just drop in, and it's recreational.
You did the Ukraine appeal, that was brilliant.
Yep. We raised a few thousand for that.
And I know that you won't mention this, but during the lockdown, I know that you used the hub here as a community centre, if you like, to access food. And get it out, deliver it out to people that were
I think something like 3,000 meals we delivered during the first phase, and then we started delivering lunches to local folk as well, and that allowed us to link in to then maybe start inviting a lot of these folk in for then some of the activities.
Everything's double-edged, isn't it? It's getting out and speaking to people and letting them know what you're doing. And
we were fortunate enough to, you know, receive communities funding for Glasgow City Council, which again folk are coming in, and there's no cost to these activities for a lot of people. So and now that some of the people are now offering to also run, you know, some of the activities and help, you know, the engagement officers. So again, just full circle, fantastic.
And you have now got a new career as a walking footballer. You turned 50 last year. You're 51 now.
51 now.
Right. So you made your debut last year. That's over a year you've been playing then, and you haven't discovered what walking means yet.
No, I keep it. That's why I'm the jogging fit boy. You know, although I've got a couple of injuries now, which is I've got the knee bandage on today to try. So I
to try and get sympathy.
Yep. So we'll see how it goes today. We need a couple of wins over at Tour de Glen. So
win the league again, just to save embarrassment.
My good friends at the Ants. I was talking to Bobby last night. And, so no pressure.
Dodgy character. Was he trying to sign you? Because he signed everybody else.
He spiked my drinks. It was
his fault. Put it past him at all. We played them today.
So I've got them. And
what drinks the night before the game?
Spiked my water.
It's holy water, you know.
Hey, we'll not go down that road of missing tournaments to the night before, indulgence the night before.
Yep. But again, even just going back to the first day we went up to Drumchapel, so I was only meant to be diving the bus.
That's right.
15 players, and I was a bit just to experience it. And you often said after the first 10 minutes, and that day was fantastic. I think the weather was actually really that great, but even the team photograph we got with everybody before the match, and I still look back at that and I say, I come on and got involved and just to experience that for the first time, and I went, no, I want to do that.
It's all been downhill since then, of course.
I want to do that again, and I thought I did all right that day.
It's just football, isn't it? It's something I should ask you, because when you first, as a footballer, and you weren't eligible to play, you were under 50 at the time. Walking football to you when you met me was, this is something that we could bring in for older people in the community and Paul United. But now when I first said to you, you could play, I can remember your face when I said to you, you'll be playing next year. You were kind of very funny.
Aye.
So what was your perception of walking football, and what's different now?
Is there maybe a stigma? There could potentially be a stigma around going, not me, I can't even tell my pals I'm playing walking football. I can't
come back and see me in 10 years, that's what we get. No,
you know,
or they joke and say, maybe it is walking football. They're not kidding. They think they're too fit.
But through things like we doing the football fans and training, that the first thing we did with the guys, and some of them hadn't kicked a ball for 7-8 years, that friends of mine and guys who have maybe been coaches and other things,
Yes.
like, we're coming in to do this, and everybody was bought into it, and then they felt, by the way, I can actually go now after a couple of months, I can now go and play proper five-a-sides, and that was I still play fives now with Daniel, who's 18, and some of his pals. I'm 50. I'm still able. I never thought, before walking football, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
It's a bridge.
Walking football was that stepping stone to getting back and doing and playing. Still playing 11 asides with over 40s now. I wouldn't have. There'd been no way on earth I'd have been able to do that.
Yeah.
Having not did, that exercise and that increase in your heart rate, getting that up,
so you've got no problem advocating for walking football now?
No,
spreading the word?
Absolutely no. And then if I do know of anybody who's no kicking the ball, or who's maybe now thinking that their health, they need to get doing something, will come in and be signpost. There's no a day of the week that there isn't a session run. So there's no excuse.
And there's low intensity sessions.
Daytime evening. Yep. The St Anthony's one's always low intensity.
Yes.
So I always send them down there.
We've got people coming to Bellahouston with their carers who sit at the side as well. We've got dementia session at Tory Glen. We've got Parkinson's session at Tory Glen. And George's out here for the young boys as well.
It's just, I think, overcoming that wee initial stigma
it's
or
the
whatever,
it's the name, isn't it?
Coming in and it's over 50s football and again, just even the banter, the group chats that you're on, the WhatsApps, I'm on that many of them for varies, and it's like I come off social media because all I'm ever on is WhatsApps for numerous groups that we run, and to see some of the, again, it keeps people going. Maybe somebody's in a low ebb and they see the wee video comes on, and the stuff that yous are doing. I never thought I would ever be sitting, doing a podcast. That's not for older guys. That's young people to do that. And TikTok or all of this. So sitting this morning. So Paul's now got their TikTok. So Alan Robb is maybe going to be working on that. We're going to be looking at how we market.
Yes.
Everything that we do, because we're really not good at putting it out there and saying all these good news stories. That we should take the credit for more.
Because the medium for doing that now has changed so much. It used to be leaflets we get made, Andy, you know what I mean? Put them out and put a poster.
The Govan Press or something like that, or the Southside News, you might get a paper or something like that.
We still rely on word of mouth, really. We don't utilise the platform, the internet platforms that are there for that purpose. So you're right enough. That's the next stage.
Even last weekend, but we're out over at Eriskay, looking at the famous football pitch over in Eriskay, and we're talking to the guys. Do we get to the stage? Going to places, actually going on wee tours, going over to far-flung places that struggle to get enough people to come and take part or get an 11-a-side game, and to take walking football to some of the islands. If we get the minibus back up and running and able to take.
There's a session just starting just now as we speak in Butte and Rossi. Started last Sunday, and hopefully they're playing again today. And I've said to them, if they can get a team up, we'll come over and play them, because that friendlies thing is really taking off all over the country. Down south as well. Chris plays in Spain and Portugal. Well, he says he plays. They must be really bad that he gets a game, but some folk will travel anyway to get a game of football. Morocco, folk are going to Morocco in a few weeks, aren't they? Are you going? Maybe stay. So it's all over. It's the fastest growing sport in Europe just now.
Yep. So hopefully again the girls team will for Pollock and see George is doing a great job. Sarah's involved in that. And
what is George's job description then?
Development.
The janitor. Development. Have I got it wrong?
He also, I think his name rang as well. It's George Watson.
I call him Walker.
So development manager. So George again.
He's unforgettable, that guy.
Loads of contacts. Does fantastic work on the Monday with the tackle and recovery group. Great bunch of guys, and also runs the National Mental Health League. And we were fortunate enough to host a couple of weeks ago.
Walking club that he runs from here as well.
Doing the still game, and the fan fit. We're looking to actually recruit folk just now. We're hopefully starting a new fan fit. So football fans in training, the SPFL Trust give us funding to run a weekly session. Again, just folk, if you're between 35 and 65, your waist measurement, if you're over 38-inch waist, and your BMI of, I think it's over 28. So, there's certain criteria.
Yes.
And then you come in and work with a club. We'll do parts, 45 minutes, a classroom, talking about healthy eating, drinking,
your lifestyle,
stuff like that, and then 45 minutes on the pitch. And that could be a game of walking football, it could be a game of netball, tennis,
just movement.
Activity, physical activity,
going
round the walking around the running track, getting the bikes out. Could be getting into the gym once we open that. We have questionnaires at week 0, week 6, week 12. So it's a free 12-week programme, and George and I, this is now I think the 5th programme that we're running.
When's that starting, Andy?
It'll be the end of May, so email George at pollockunited.org.uk to register, and hopefully we'll maximise. I think we've got up to 20 spaces in this cohort that we're just about to run, and then after the 12 weeks we then hope to link you in with one of the other activities.
Yes.
We don't want that just to be for that 12 weeks and
then
that's
go
it.
back
So
to
you come in and play walking football, you come into one of our it could be female only activities, it could be coming in and doing some of the boot camp, coming in and just using the facility still. Maybe might be taking a membership out for the gym, and enjoy coming down, being part of the bigger Pollock family, and keeping yourself
Are
out.
you going to have a memberships? Are you going to run Nethercraigs then as a sports club?
It could be like the Pollock club. Your part. So rather than a Glasgow club, we would have the Pollock club. And that's the kind of idea. I think we'll go down, and it's maybe put an app. We would have an app in place that you would book, a gym space, or if you want to book it, we'd come to do it for the running track. If you want to book a bike through potentially Blackwood, with a system we put, and there's also going to be electric bikes. So anybody's never tried, I've never tried. These are going to be there.
Foot golf.
Yep, we'll get the flagpoles out. We could do a wee tournament and see even around that. So the space is there. We've got loads, and it's.
Do you think you'll need to employ someone? Glasgow Life have people at the desk during the day for check-in, for bookings, for maintenance, general cleaning.
We've got leisure attendants, so we've got Kevin, Keevy, Daniel, we've got Ewan and Peter.
They're Glasgow Life employees.
Peter and Ewan are Keevy, Kevin and Daniel are Pollock employees. So we've got a hybrid, we've got a joint partnership. Until we take over, Glasgow Life still have to have a presence in the building for insurance purposes. So Ewan and Peter are there. So that's about 40 hours a week that the facility is currently open, and unfortunately it doesn't open until 5 on Monday to Friday. Apart from the walking football on a Monday, we have a special arrangement for. So we also have a really good partnership with Clyde College. So what happened with some of the students who are doing their HNCs, HND, so they use Dennis Donnelly Park during term time, and David McGurn and the staff there also will try and point some of the students to come in and be sessional workers. Some of the activities that we run, like say mini kickers. There's a couple of volunteers, but the majority of the coaches there are young sessional workers who are starting off their coaching.
And they're getting their badges and going through their courses and whatnot.
So we encourage them to do that. And
you've got a conveyor belt of that then. You've got the structures in place for coaches and whatnot to come in. So anybody looking to get into coaching could come and speak to you and get involved.
And one of the projects we're involved in, that's made kind of our links with Pollock FC a lot stronger, was under 20s team. So they played in the Friday night football, and that our pathway through our academy.
So they could send players to you to get a bit of experience and get a bit of coaching.
And they're under 20s guys, so a number of them getting trained with the first team on a Monday and a Wednesday. Unfortunately, they just didn't manage to finish the season there, but we hope that will re-establish itself, and the links between the charity and the academy and Pollock FC grow.
And Pollock FC have been great with walking football as well, as you know. They had us over we had a table at the annual
Player of the Year.
bash, and a Player of the Year a couple of weeks ago, and they invited us in on a charity to go in and collect our buckets on the day. They invited about 10 of us went to watch the game. A cracking game it was as well. We all can like.
So there must be loads of Ball FC fans that would be keen and
knowing more about
having a session at Newlandsfield would be fantastic. I think we're looking to try and arrange something. So getting those strong links with the first team and that then allows us to produce our own, bringing them through the academy, and ultimately that's what I was fortunate enough to do, was then run out at Newlandsfield, one of the most iconic grounds even as well, having the floodlights, so playing, I think on tomorrow night there's a game against Clydebank under the lights, and that'll be one of
the first game under the lights,
proper games, so to be around it when that's happening, that's fantastic, and that takes things at another level, the pyramid that they're involved in now that allows potentially go to senior game.
Back to square one, anybody looking to do something similar, I mean we're talking 10, 11 years here, and there was a foundation in place before that as well. We're talking about the goodwill of a lot of people getting involved. That's what you really need. You put in so much time before you started working, if you like. That's what it needs, is people in the community to get together and decide what they're going to do first and foremost, and make a commitment to it.
We've been very lucky. I mean, we've got probably 100 coaches that volunteers, and there's also behind that. There's not just coaches. There's the secretaries. There's the treasurers. There's the strip washers. There's so much happens.
People kids.
People don't see so much of what is happening between.
And amateur football suffering just now. That age group, when they leave you and go and play amateur football, we're losing a lot of teams just now to amateur football. There's been a gap. COVID has caused us a big gap in there. But your conveyor belt is going to replace that, Andy, because youth football, youngsters are still wanting to play football.
We will have Pollock United amateurs next year, so that's been formed. So,
what league are they going to?
It'll be the Saturday morning.
Not colleges, obviously.
I'm not 100% sure.
Because the reason I'm asking, Glasgow District, the guy that runs it, Kevin Money, left yesterday, chucked it, because he was doing everything. As often happens, it could have happened to you. One guy ends up doing everything. And then it all folds. And the Glasgow District was a big league, there was about 30 odd teams in it. So we're getting phone calls last night at the Colleges League with teams looking for a home next season. That's why I'm asking about
I'll find out.
Maybe the Caledonian or Strathclyde League.
So that's another exciting part that we'll be
every aspect
being involved in. So there's no reason to folks say, right, I'm hanging the boots up. Used to be at 32 or 33, I can't buy a new pair of boots now. I'll not get used to them. Now I've got guys going, I'm having to get a new pair of boots now, so you've got another 5 years, 10 years.
Well, we had Aldo in here, his 75th birthday, and he was saying, the kid said to him, what do you want for your birthday? Miranda. And he said, they give me a pair of football boots. Tremendous. So what about family, Andy? How do they put up with all this? There must be a widow at home.
Jackie, my wife, poor wife, long suffering. I managed to originally for Ibrox, managed to get her out of Ibrox,
Well, you saved her.
So, actually, she lived...
You were working as a waitress in a cocktail.
She lived in the high flats beside Ibrox, and when I get sent off that day...
That's what appealed to her. She likes the bad boys.
She seen me running back up the tunnel again, and going, thank goodness I didn't go to that game. But a good wee story about my daughter. My daughter, Emma's 16 now, and a wee pal wanted to go along to one of the girls' sessions, and didn't wanted somebody to go with her, so Emma went along with her, and come back that night with her cheeks red, beaming, had a big smile on her face, and Jackie then went, right, you can have my son. Daniel had been playing with Paul for a number of years, but you'll not have my daughter. You can have my son. But, so then Emma played with a girls' team for a number of years, and Jackie would often just drop them off, or if I was away with Daniel, but no, she got involved, and thanks to Jackie, that's why a lot of the stuff. There would be even going down and cutting the grass at Nethercraigs, and the grass at my house would be, you know, when you going to, you know, that painting's been done or that grass is being cut. No, I need to get it, the light.
What's wrong? Can you not get the tractor up the road?
No, it's the one. But even the floodlights, one of the things the floodlights was broke. Jackie, I've been asking you to replace that
light bulb
in the hall for months, and you're away doing with a cherry picker doing the ones at Nethercraigs. So I without Jackie, I think it'll be.
I remember the very first tournament day. It was a Monday for some reason. We were playing at Torry Glen, and you were meant to be. I think it was our first league game, or a cup or whatever. And you said, I'm going out on the Sunday with Jackie. But I'll be fine. I'll be home for tea time. And I had sent a text, a WhatsApp to all the players in the 50s team saying, no sex, no chips and no drink tonight for preparation for the big game. So I got a text from Andy about 2 o'clock in the afternoon saying, we're going out just for a wee cocktail and a bite to eat, but I'll be home for tea time. Something like that. I behave. And then I got one at tea time from Andy, and a picture of a few pints and a few empties lying about as well. We'll be going up the road shortly. We just got delayed. And then the next one I got was from Jackie about 10 o'clock at night saying, see you, Simon, he won't buy me chips on the way up the road. So he stuck to the no chips, and I know that she stuck to the first one.
Aye, definitely. I was in Locks. We started off in Locks, and then I eventually made our way back to Cardonald.
And I should just round it off by saying you never made the game the next day. You got into the car and thought, that's not for me.
I think it was COVID. I think it was
the early start of that.
Aye.
Brilliant.
Aye, magic.
Right.
Aye.